So, as a part of like our daily update around the outbreak, what is happening in the Asia Pacific region, we have 27 countries with confirmed cases of COVID-19. There are more than 62,000 cases all over Asia Pacific, active cases, and more than 7,200 deaths. In terms of death, if we exclude China, the top three countries is India, Indonesia, and Philippines. There are some of the important things that we need to understand about the death rate, case fatality rate in Asia Pacific is like Indonesia and Philippines. Like if you see the total number of active cases and the number of deaths is quite high, particularly in Indonesia, which is which is a bit concerning, seeing it is much higher than the global average. At this stage, like India has the highest number of active cases, which is almost 15,000 cases, and Bangladesh in last 1 week have 500% rise in cases. So we can see like if we exclude China from our list, then we can say most of the countries in Asia Pacific are climbing the hill of the epidemic curve. And we have this dashboard which really helps you to give an analysis of what is happening in the Asia Pacific with regard to COVID-19. We do understand that our number of cases at this stage is much lower than other part of the world. However, like this is just the beginning of the long battle with COVID-19, and we are still on the uphill. And the number of testing is also quite low in Asia Pacific as compared to most of the European and United States of America. There is also another map that globally IFRC has developed, seeing in which country the COVID-19 could have highest impact in case there is a major outbreak in those countries. This depends upon the demographic of the population, the Global Health Security Index, parameter, Human Development Index, and also the number of hospital facilities that is available per thousand population, and the presence of non-communicable disease and other determinants like conflict, sanctions, and some other thing, and population of concern like refugee migrants and etc. So in that it was shown that like most of several countries in Africa, you can see in the maroon color, like most of the countries in Africa is in that range, are are really vulnerable if there is an outbreak in Africa, major outbreak in Africa for COVID-19. However, in Asia Pacific, there are countries like which might have highest impact, and those countries are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So those are the countries with much highest impact if there is a major outbreak in those countries. So this is just a snapshot about the condition of COVID-19 in Asia Pacific region. Now I would like to hand over to Ludovic to take the proceeding forwards. Over to you, Ludovic. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Abhishek, for this very comprehensive introduction. So I am Ludovic Carnoux, the WASH coordinator for Asia Pacific. Can you confirm you can hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you, Ludovic.
Thank you.
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay, so now let's move to WASH activities in COVID-19 operation presentation from 3 national society of the regions. I'm not sure if he's online. I would like to give the floor to Brian K. Enriquez, who is now the COVID-19 response coordinator for Philippine Red Cross.
Hi, colleagues. Good morning from the Philippines. I am Brian Enriquez, the current WASH manager of the Philippine Red Cross, and at the same time, the COVID response coordinator. So joining me in this webinar is Mr. Daryl Bon Avellon, who is the WASH unit head also for response and recovery program. He will be presenting later on what we have done so far in terms of COVID-19. But before going to the activities that we are doing in terms of responding to COVID-19, let me share to you the plan of action that was developed by the Philippine Red Cross. Next slide, please. Jesse, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Yeah. So
Can you see
this
the
one,
slide?
yeah. Thank you. So we are now we developed this COVID response plan that is anchored into four different pillars. We have the surveillance, the support to healthcare system and authorities, community action, and business continuity. So in terms of surveillance, this is designed to identify who is sick, isolate them, and provide them with appropriate care. There are two component activities under this pillar. That one, number one is the establishment of the helpline 1158 that accept calls from the general public that that actually relieve the government in terms of accepting a lot of calls from different parts of the country. The other activity under this pillar is the community-based surveillance, wherein we mobilize the volunteers to identify who is sick and those who are not receiving any support from the government authorities. The second pillar is the support to healthcare system and local authorities. This is designed to reduce the burden to the hospitals and protect the health and frontline workers. Activities include mobilization of our medical tents, designed as the triage and isolation wards, mobilization of ambulances to transport suspected and confirmed COVID-19 patients. We recently opened also our molecular laboratory that is capable of testing 1,000 samples per machine per day to know the status of the public and determine who must go into quarantine and who must receive the appropriate treatment. We have also the provision of hygiene kits to the suspected and confirmed COVID-19 patients. And part of the plan of action is to extend our support in terms of psychological first aid and restoring family link to the health and frontline workers. The third pillar is designed as the community action to support the community initiatives and serve both the marginalized and the most vulnerable. These include the provision of cash grant to the marginalized group, distribution of food aid, provision of psychological first aid, hygiene promotion interventions, and installation of wash infrastructures, including hand washing facilities. Lastly, as part of the four pillars, to ensure that we will continue to sustain the impact of COVID-19 and enhance community quarantine in several parts of the country, we develop our business continuity, which will guide us and ensure that essential services are not disrupted. Strict reinforcement of social distancing and safety measures in all our offices, including the field offices. Ensure that there is an optimal coordination, decision making, communication, and that the resources of the movement in the country will be used appropriately. So aside from that, part of the continuity is to provide timely updates to all volunteers about COVID-19 and communicate effectively to our partners and to the media. Now I will turn this over to Mr. Daryl Abelion to share with us some of the plans and accomplishments of Philippine Red Cross with the support of the movement partners and other partners in relation to COVID-19. So over, Daryl.
Hello, good afternoon. Next slide, please.
Jessie, can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you.
Sure. All right. Can you see the slide?
Not yet. Yeah, now it's there. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am Daryl. So I will be sharing to you the WASH-specific activities which we are implementing to almost 104 chapters nationwide. So with the support to the healthcare systems and authorities, We do the provision of hygiene kits confined to our PRC tents. Also, a personal hygiene kit will be given to those who were confined to the hospital in relation to COVID-19. Individuals, our staff and volunteers who were confirmed with COVID-19, and the suspected and probable cases who were admitted to the hospital, as well as those who were in their homes for the ongoing self-quarantine. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you.
Next slide, Jessie.
Yes.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. So,
Okay,
okay.
thank you. So, part of our current WASH activities planned as part of COVID-19 operations is the community action. So, we do the conduct of hygiene promotion sessions to focusing on the communication objectives depending on the context per area. So, a social distancing was also observed in the implementation of the hygiene promotion. Then our RC-140 mobilization in sharing of information, education, and the installation of our posters. And as well as the public address system was executed through using the roving vehicles. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Another activity is the provision on water and hand washing facilities in slums and those with water interruption but with COVID-19 positive patient in front of priority hospitals and markets. So the provision on what different types of hand washing facilities depending on the context and availability of materials was established and prepositions in the strategic areas where individuals can easily access and do the hygiene activities and hand washing. So almost 200 portable hand washing facilities were set up in almost all areas in the Philippines. So our chapters continue the installation of hand washing facilities to the identified areas, most especially hospitals, markets, and other frontline businesses and establishments. Next slide, please. Thank you. So part of our business continuity plan is the strict enforcement of social distancing and regular disinfection in our national headquarters as well as our chapters. So safety and security of the staff and volunteers who were working in the office to continue the expected deliverables of the working of the office. So herewith are the following initiatives in relations to WASH. First is the provision of foot mat to the entrance of the building. Advisable chlorine solution was being soaked as part of the prevention of COVID-19. Cleaning regularly of the office and conduct spraying, which is disinfections twice a week in the working area. Posting of IEC materials to the restrooms and posting areas. Monitoring of the staff status regularly. Readiness of personal hygiene kits. Monitoring and consolidating the activities of the chapter, and of course, provide timely updates and provision of protection against COVID-19. Next slide, please. So, part of our operations, we have also the... Let's go back from the previous slide.
Jessie, can we go back to 2 slides before that?
Slide number 7, please.
Slide number 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, part of our challenges we encountered in our operations is the availability of local markets for the procurement of wash-related items, limited access and time for the implementation of wash activities, fear and stigma of some of the volunteers, as well as the clearances from their families for the mobilization, reaction of the local communities in the conduction of gatherings, quarantine of 14 days, which will delay on the implementation, and of course, the discipline of the local communities. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So part of differences with the normal operation and challenges with the COVID-19 operations, public address system using the roving mechanism in relaying the information to the community. So we have also the Dramvatory, which is very new and timely with the response to COVID-19, a portable hand washing facility that were placed to the strategic locations, and disinfection done in the working place, strict implementation of social distancing during the water tankering, so the provision of safe and potable water to the affected communities, then guidelines secured for the distribution of hygiene kits to the affected population, implementation of 1 hour distribution to avoid further exposure. And through the radio stations, some of the chapters were able to share or relay the information. And I will turn you over to Sir Brian to share to us the learnings and moving forwards of the PRC in response to COVID-19 operations. Thank you.
Next, thank you, Daryl. Next slide, please. So may I share to you the learning so far of our national society and how do we move forward in relation to COVID-19, no? So we have four key learnings that we would want to share to our colleagues from the region. So number one is adapting to the COVID response is integral to the delivery of services. While we are having our regular programming and that includes also emergency response, adaptation to the context is very important for everyone. It is one way on how we modify our program and ensure that we remain accountable to the beneficiaries, to our partners, and to our organization that these essential services will continue and must continue, that it's very important, especially that WASH will play critical interventions to the prevention of COVID-19. Number two is the development and adjustment of our guidelines and strategies to ensure that the continuity of services. Daryl mentioned earlier about the distribution of hygiene kits or other hygiene-related items. So we can't stop this kind of activities, especially those who were displaced and that this crisis, that this situation has become protracted. So we modify our existing guidelines and ensure that we observe the guidelines that has been developed by the authorities to ensure that the social distancing and the prevention and containment of suspected cases will remain to be on top of our priority and while we are serving the most vulnerable. Number three, strategic allocation of resources to serve in a wide-scale operation with different contexts. So the type of intervention that we have right now is segmented into three different cases. We have the preventive, we have the containment, and we have also the mitigation. Because there are different parts of the country to which there are still zero cases of COVID-19, but some has already been the red zone. And it's very important for us that we develop the key messages that we have, our single overriding communication objective that we address to the public. Like there are instances that hand washing may no longer be applicable as your main key message if the situation has already been worsened. So the use of proper mask is very also important for us, especially the disposal, and that the community members will remain to be vigilant or assertive in terms of addressing such concerns. Because we are also operating in 103 chapters right now, so we have to make sure that all chapter will get not equal resources, but at least some resources from from the headquarters and with the support of the partners that we will be able to continue doing the interventions in the communities and serve the most vulnerable that is anchored in the four pillars of COVID-19 response plan. And lastly, it's very important that risk management measures for WASH responders because there are pre-existing operations that becomes protracted due to COVID-19 and community-enhanced quarantine. Like we mentioned earlier, an example of this one is the Mindanao earthquake and the Marawi siege operations. So the evacuation centers or the displacement camps remain to be dependent to the water distribution of the national society. So we make sure that our responders, whenever they go to the field, they will be provided with the appropriate PPE. And also at the same time, we look at also the insurance of these people that while they are serving the organization, they will take the risk management measures and that there will be protection to the benefit and the welfare of the staff and the volunteers who are actively engaged both in response and recovery interventions. While we are enjoying somehow the benefit of the enhanced community quarantine, but this does not prevent the national society to continue our development and sustainable programs, especially in urban programming, because we were able to capitalize the availability of resources, not only limited to the funding availability, but also to serve and to prevent further transmission of disease in urban slums. So that's one of the benefit that we have as part of our risk management and allocation of resources. So may I share to you the last slide from the part of the Philippine Red Cross? Next slide, Jessie. So we were able to develop an IEC set of IEC materials depending on the context. As you can see in your screen, we have this proper use of mask that has been designed based on the situation that we have, that the increasing number of cases in the Philippines that happened in the last 4 weeks. We were able also to develop another set of IEC material in the middle that has 4 key messaging, that is proper hand washing, proper food handling, respiratory hygiene, and social distancing. And lastly, since there are a lot of increasing cases of COVID-19, last night we were able to draft or develop this new IEC material for infection control and recommendations because we cannot, although we anticipated that there will be possible containment of, possible infection among our staff and volunteers. So now, we developed this IEC material for the infection control that will guide the National Society on how we better deal in addressing the infection control program within the premises or the buildings that we have. So those are the set of presentations from the Philippine Red Cross. So we thank you for listening and for taking up your time in active listening to this presentation. Over. Thank you, Jesse and Ludovic.
Thanks a lot, Brian and Daryl, for the presentation, which highlight all the work done by the Philippine Red Cross. Among all what was presented, I think challenges and lessons learned will be very useful for other national society of the region and for all the participants today. At this stage, we will keep questions for the end of the webinar. And now I will give the floor to Amar. Amar Poudel, Deputy Director, Community Development Department for Nepal Red Cross. As we have few issues with Jesse's presentation, I will take over from now, and I hope the presentation will be more smooth.
Yes, Ludovic, good morning to everyone.
Good morning, Amar. So let me, you can go and let me know when you want to change the slide.
Yes. Actually, Nepal is also one of the affected country in South Asia, gradually the case of COVID-19 case is increasing gradually, but we have not yet the death like a toll. So the country is very panic, and then we have the fully lockdown situations. We are now in that situation. Please, next slide. Yes, now it's visible. Can I go? Actually, I have also opened the same slide in my laptop. Can I go simultaneously? Sometimes it's difficult to see in the like a dashboard. Yes, yes, yes. If you see the timeline of COVID-19 in Nepal, the first case we found in January 24, and then gradually it going on. Now we have 31 cases, and then the situation is what happened. The earlier it was the cases transported from the abroad, especially outside of Nepal, but since 4 April, it looks like the local transmissions situation. That means from transported to local transmission, we already reached in the second stage of COVID. That means the local transmission of cases started within the country. So this is the very like a panic situations. And then in our country, our government announced the nationwide lockdown from 24 March, and still the lockdown going on, and we don't know the lockdown may be extend gradually. And then we found that the local transmission of cases started from 4 April. That is the very critical time, and then the cases is increased in our country. And we in our local government, in the different part of the country, the local government started to like establish the quarantine site in their territory, and until now we can see 4,500 peoples are staying in quarantine, and 112 are in isolations. This is the situation of COVID-19 in our country. Please, next slide.
Yeah, it's okay. Now it's on the screen.
Yes, if you go to the statistics of quarantine, actually the establishment of quarantine in our country is very rapidly going on. You can see the more than 30,000 quarantine beds are established in different part of the country, but the patients were not so much, but still it is increasing. Next slide. Yeah, if we talk about the COVID-19 preparedness in our country, especially for the within the Red Cross, we are doing a lot of work because the situation is lockdown. We are working the majorly in the preparedness, and our district are doing the response related work. In the preparedness side, we prepare the nationwide Red Cross approach paper with the support of different department and the federations. And based on the approach paper, we already prepared the operation plan. And based on the operation plan, the different sectors are working based on their operation plan. And we have also the very good WAS operation plan. And we have a CITREF, situation reporting mechanisms, and our one of the team, they are reporting and making the CITREF very regularly. And then we have also the funding seeking team, and that team is coordinating with the Qatar Red Crescent, UNICEF, and Unilever. Those type of actually organization. We already submitted the proposal, especially for WAS for the COVID-19 response. And we have also regular communications and participation in the government cluster sessions, and we are the active partner in the WAS cluster. And we are also discussing our progress and constraint and these things to the WAS cluster, and our health department also participating in the health cluster, and our also the tracing and other department participating the protection clusters. And then our districts, they are doing the response, and from the headquarter we are actually pushing them to speed up the response work. But still the situation is, due to the strict lockdown process, due to yes, actually, we have different committee for the COVID response in the national headquarter. We have the senior level decision committee, and we have the planning committee. We have the liaison committee to the district chapters, different district chapter. We have the 77 district chapters, and we have also the PMER committee, and we have also the technical committee. One of the technical committee are the WAS committees, and we have the different PNS are as a member in that WAS technical committee. And then we are doing the planning work, and we are also giving the training to the district chapter in our teams. And these things are we are doing in the national headquarter as a preparedness. And we are also doing some response activities. And then these type of response activities are we are doing in the country. The major response activity is the hygiene promotion. The hygiene promotion based on the COVID-19 related symptoms and the ISC material which our country, and we are preparing that type of ISC material. Like we are more focusing to the hand washing in especially in the quarantine area, and also the public places. We are doing that type of actually the hygiene promotion related things. And the next thing is actually the coffin hygienes. Actually, if you see, if somebody have flu and they are in the public area, and then how we can like convince them about the disease and about the coffin hygienes. These things also we are doing, and also the physical distancing. These things are we are doing the like a risk communication campaign through the different media. We have the 1130 hotline telephone. Through that telephone, we also responding the different questions from the different part of the country. We have the radio program, and we are doing the radio program, and through the radio program we also communicate the risk communication messages. These things are why we are doing. And we are also doing the provision of wash service in the different part of the country, especially focusing the quarantine area and also the public places, and also the wash relief item, especially the hygiene kit, because who people are staying in the quarantine, they generally stay the 14 days in that quarantine area. And we are also giving the hygiene kit on those isolated people in the quarantine area. There are different type of material which the standard of that material also made by our government. And these things we are also doing. And we are also trying to do the wash risk communication and wash activity in the jail, because in our country in different district there are jails, and due to the congested space in the jail area, there may be also the risks, so that we are also want to focus that jail area. So until now we are just discussing with the jail administrations, but yet too we have to started the intervention in that area. and also installation of water point in a strategical place, especially the public place, and also the quarantine area for hand washing and other purpose. We have to need the wash facility. That's things we are doing in that area. And one of the major activities, the disinfection campaigns, and we are also doing the disinfection campaign in the different community and the quarantine area. These are the major activities, and we are doing. And then our district, the next slide, please. Our district chapter, especially the district chapter, they are doing their response operation in their area. Before the lockdown situations, we started a lot of work with presencing the headquarter, physical presence in the districts, and we started the disinfectant campaign in our office building, in our blood bank, and we also established the hand washing stations in the different in our offices, and we also distribute and then production the ISC material. Our government also produced a lot of ISC material in the different in different area, like physical distancing, like coffin hygienes, like hand washing. This type of IC material we reproduce and transport it to the district, and the district are using and they are doing the risk communication through using that ISC material. And then you can see the one of the campaign also raised all year initial situation of lockdown, that is the preparation of sanitizer. Actually, the scarcity of sanitizer in our country was very huge, and that time some scientists started to make the sanitizer, and they started to give the training, and then our Red Cross volunteer also started to make the sanitizer at the local level, and then they use that. And also in our country, we also do the different disinfectant campaign in community, in vehicles, in offices, in different part. And also we distributed the wash related material, especially wash and especially soap, hygiene kit, and then some other things to the quarantine area, you can see. And then these are the some activity we are doing in the community, and especially the quarantine area in the public places. And you can see we have also the very like a livelihood issue nowadays, and then people are lost the jobs, and they are returning home from the city, and in on the way they are facing the very difficult in such area. The Red Cross volunteer and staff, they are supporting those people, and they are also giving the message to those people. These things are we are doing, but actually due to the lockdown situation, we have not like we cannot doing it's we intended. So our we are more headquarters more dependent upon the our district chapter, and they are doing their work at the local stage with consulting with the local administration and the local government. And these are the some like activity they were doing in the different part of the country. uh, the next slide.
Yes, Amar, if it's possible to, I'm sorry to push you, but we still have two more presentation after you. So can you finish in within the 5 next minutes, please?
Yes, Ludovic. Actually, I want to go directly because these are our response activity we are doing, and I want to go directly to the challenges part. Actually, this is the very crucial part for us. Yeah, this is the challenge in our case. The challenge is actually the people are very scary due to the spreading of this COVID-19 disease in different part of the country. This is the one of the challenge actually, and then due to the lockdown, the our staffs and then people and volunteer, they are not going to office, and we are not like possible to go to the field and for the response. So we are most depend our district chapter, our sub chapter, our volunteer at the local level, where they are doing their work in their places. This is the one of the challenges. And there is not more face-to-face planning or meetings and activity, so are more depend the virtual meetings. And then every day there are different virtual meetings and training and the orientations, and we are giving that things. And then also sometimes it's difficult to transportation the PPP material for the in the district and the sub district, so we are using sometimes the government pass holder vehicles, our vehicles and our ambulance. And also, and now we are applying our IFRC procurement systems due to the lockdown and due to the like halt of like government's systems. We are using our IFRC procurement systems, and then we are very busy response and plannings. And then districts are doing their work in their community. These are the some challenges due to this. And then some, there are next slide, and there are some learning. The learning is actually learning is our local offices, they are not more depending to us to headquarter at these situations. They are coordinating to the local government and to the local administrations, and we are sending them some material, and they are doing their work actually. And then the good thing is actually the vast knowledge and skill are very rapidly and very widely in our district chapters. So they are doing the was related intervention at their local area based on the COVID response. And also the district chapter and the headquarter, we are just connecting through the virtually, and we are giving the different type of training and then different type of meetings. And then nowadays we are focusing the household approach, not the mass approach actually. And then our volunteer, they are going to house to trace the COVID-19 contact tracing people. And then we also motivating and giving the risk communications from the to house approach. Actually this approach is very rapidly increasing. And also vast awareness is increasing drastically in our society, because due to the this COVID-19, the most of the IC material and then risk communication message through the different media is focusing the hygiene promotion and the wash promotion, so that this is very rapidly spreading all over the country. These are the some lessons we are we have. And we have also some plan to moving forward. And then we want to focus the quarantine and health center nowadays, because our plan more focused to that area we want to. And then for the risk communication and hygiene promotion, we are applying the whole society of approach. That means we are covering the whole country, 77 district, from the risk communication hygiene promotions. And we also collaboration to the different organization for the resource generation and for the implementation and response to the local government. And then our ongoing project is suspended, but our staffs and our resource of ongoing projects, we are focusing toward the COVID-19 response. These are the our plans, and these are our challenges actually. And this is the finish actually. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask us. Thank you, Ludovic.
Thank you very much, Amar. As for that was very interesting presentation, and we will keep the question for the end. as the same for the first presentation. Now, do we have Faisal online?
Yes, good morning, Lordic and everyone.
Good morning, Faisal. I'm just uploading your the presentation you just shared with me 15 minutes ago. Okay, so Faisal, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This short presentation from Pakistan Red Crescent just mention. Can you next slide? Yeah, currently we are doing just some awareness campaign like dissemination of key messages through installation of banners and distribution of leaflets, as well as some key messages through loudspeaker in the area, like as like some distribution of hygiene kits at household level as well to the quarantine facilities in some area. Uh, Along with this, we are also doing like places and like the public offices which is open. Next slide. Yeah, we are also doing like disinfection campaign, like it's at household level as well like public places, like in offices, like at PRCS offices as well, and adjacent to this, like some offices as well in some area at household level. Next slide. Yeah, PRC has also established a 150 bedded Corona Care Hospital at Rawalpindi near adjacent to Islamabad. As well, like we also installed some rub halls for this on the request of government for quarantine facilities. As well, we equipped these facilities with wash in term of wash, like doing some water supply disinfection, and as well constructed some of toilets within this. Uh, Along with this, we also like doing on request of government, we are planning to deploy some water treatment plant to the quarantine facilities like in Sindh. So we are just maintaining that, and it's now ready to be deployed. Maybe by next week, we will deploy it to the field, to the quarantine facilities. So for the production of water, because there is a shortage of clean water within that area, so government requested us to deploy some water treatment plant over there and provide some clean water in that facilities. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, these are some challenges like lack of immediate financial support, market is locked down, like lack of acute supplies. We need some guideline, like in term of like when we establish this hospital in Rawalpindi. So we just realized that there should be like the waste of that hospital should not go directly to the main drainage. So we are also coordinated with government, but they have no guideline for this. So we would like to hear from someone here to give some guideline regarding this. The other challenges is like safety. Safety of staff, like most staff which are engaged within this, like near to the quarantine facilities, are in the hospital doing this campaign and distributing of this water. So, like for safety of that, one of the challenges that that's all from my side. If you have any question.
Thanks a lot, Faisal. I think we will do like for the other, we will keep the question for the end. So we will move for the next presentation. So this first slide is the overview of the WASH in COVID-19 operation. So as you know, the emergency appeal is a global appeal, and I will not detail the global figures, but instead will give you a snapshot of the situation as of yesterday for Asia Pacific. You can recognize the map as it was shown by Abhishek earlier. So this is the first ever operation that is involving the 38 countries of the region at one level or another. The situation is updated on a daily basis in this dashboard, and the link of the dashboard will be provided in the next slides. As of today, we have already received 30 country plans, including 12 from the country in Pacific, 8 from the countries in South Asia, 7 from countries in Southeast Asia, and 3 from East Asia. Of the 30 country plans, 5 have a standalone WASH section, which include Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, PMO in Bangladesh, and DPRK, while the rest is integrated with health. Total funding requirement is, as of yesterday, for a total of 60 million Swiss francs, which include for WASH standalone 963,000 CHF, a bit less than 1 million. And the total number of people targeted for all is 22 million, and this includes 3 million people for WASH standalone. So, a quick reminder on the basic protective measure against COVID-19. So, according to WHO and current evidence, COVID-19 virus is primarily transmitted between people through respiratory droplets and contact foods. Droplet transmission occurs when a person is in close contact, according to WHO, it's within 1 meter, with someone who has respiratory symptoms, for example, coughing or sneezing, and is therefore at risk of having his mucosae, mouth and nose, or conjunctiva exposed to potential infective respiratory droplets. Transmission may also occur in immediate environment around the infected person. So, NCA and Sphere project have developed this diagram that might remind you the F diagram that we use frequently in the WASH sector. The diagram here highlights the 2 transmission lines, direct and contact, as well as what barrier with a H that can be put in place to interrupt transmission. So the H, as you are very familiar, means hygiene. So while the primary barrier mentioned are hygiene related, for example, we have hand washing, cleaning surfaces, personal hygiene action, they are strongly linked to other action promoted through WASH programming. For example, we have to encourage frequent hand washing and cleaning by increasing water quantity delivered, or to encourage physical distancing by increasing the number of water points or operating hours to limit queue at the water point, and by increasing water storage capacity to ensure more flexibility for the household on when to fetch water. So here is a summary of the different protective measures against COVID-19. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand rub sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. Maintain social distancing, at least 1 meter between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. The distance might be increased by the government in your country for 2 meters. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Practice respiratory hygiene etiquette. Cover your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Then dispose of the used tissue immediately. And then you can find also a variety of advice on the link on the WHO site. The key WASH activities of national society as part of COVID-19 operation. The 38 countries around Asia Pacific are at different phases level according the situation in their country. As reminder, the 4 phases from WHO are: the first one, no cases, so preparedness phase. The second one, imported or locally detected cases, sporadic cases. The third one, cluster of cases over time or in different areas of the countries. And the fourth one is large-scale outbreaks with local transmission. So the key WASH activities that national society can do will vary according the 5-day stand. So the first is to provide WASH services in healthcare facilities. This will include water provision for drinking, hand washing, cleaning, and disinfection. Availability of functional sanitation and hand washing facility. Installing hand washing facility with soap and set up mandatory hand washing for anyone entering or exiting the healthcare facility. Support the provision of soap, disinfectant, chlorine, mops, bucket for cleaning and disinfection. Support provision of PPE for non-medical staff, gowns, masks, goggles, boots, gloves. Support training of non-medical staff on personal hygiene in coordination with health workers. And ensure waste management systems are established, including for hazardous waste. The second area is to provide and enhance WASH services in confined spaces like quarantine, isolation center, and jail. And this will include provision of WASH services like water and sanitation facilities construction, installation of hand washing facilities and provision of soap and water, support material provision for cleaning and disinfection and facilities, and distribution of hygiene items and not forgetting menstrual hygiene management item as well. The third one is related to hygiene promotion. So the kind of activity can include the contextualization, adaptation of existing WASH IEC material to the context of COVID or to the context of the country. The orientation and training for volunteers. Also, keeping in mind to avoid large gathering and prioritize house-to-house visit with sufficient distance is possible between the hygiene promoter and the household to ensure that we have the social distance practice. Then it's period also to focus more on mass media, radio, SMS, digital, megaphone, church, mosque, announcement, etc. But also use of loudspeaker in specific neighborhood and camp setting. And we also, with this mass media, we need to ensure that we are reaching the most vulnerable that would not necessarily have access to a phone or any other means of communication. Another activity is to emphasize frequent hand washing. The frequency and timing of hand washing should be reinforced, including when returning home. And as mentioned before, and keep it to remind it, at least 20-second rubbing. Increasing the hand washing facilities that can be done at the entrance and exit of building, on sites, in public spaces, restaurants, shop, markets, place of worship, trains, bus station, etc. in alignment with WHO guideline on universal access to hand hygiene. But make sure there is a focal point to ensure there is always water and soap to these facilities. And also consider positioning of the station to ensure users are able to obey social distancing practice. And then last point is also procurement, prepositioning, distribution of hygiene items and sanitary material as needed. So this one is a poster that is developed by the Global Hand Washing Partnership, specifically in the context of COVID-19. So you can see, like, we have the key moments that are included on the poster, which are quite different of the classic 5 key moments we are using when we are doing hand washing practice. So we can see after contact with frequently touched surfaces, shaking hand, when we need to avoid shaking hand, like contact with door, before eating, after coughing or sneezing, when returning home, and before visiting the elderly. A special point, because the case of chlorine spraying for this exception, as we have received different questions about it. So a specific technical note was developed with the support of Dr. Danielle Lantine of Tufts University, and she is recognized in the wash sector as an expert on chlorine disinfection. First, we need to differentiate the context of the use of spraying. Is it outside or in a health facility or public enclosed space? The first case is the chlorine spraying in outside public spaces. The value of chlorine spraying in this case is very limited, and the potential to harm significant. It will not kill only the virus, the COVID-19 virus, but also all other forms of life, including the good bacteria and the good viruses as well. So we recommend to avoid engaging in this activity where possible. Instead, promote messaging on avoiding touching public space surfaces and encourage hand washing. The second case is in public enclosed space like handrails, door handles, elevator panel, etc. So it's more appropriate to wipe key contact surface with commercially available cleaning and disinfection solution. Chlorine spraying may not dry quickly and present a slip risk. Chlorine may cause damage to some surfaces and it is an irritant. So chlorine spraying should only be considered as a last resort. Is it important in this case for the security of the volunteers that they have good understanding and experience in this kind of activity? The quality of the chlorine solution can vary with the time and need to be checked regularly in this case. The question about what kind of cleaning agent can be used in different contexts, such as healthcare facility and non-medical enclosed space, is answered in the frequent asked question that I will mention after. So this slide gives you a brief, the main website to find key resources. So this includes internal and external resources. These resources are the most relevant to you and are covering most of your questions or concerns. So the first one, so I will open the site and okay. So the first one is the Watson Mission Assistant, well known by all of you. I hope, I wish, I expect this, where a dedicated page on COVID-19 has been prepared. So on these pages, you will find, so you will see the pages is not that big because the idea is really to go for the essential document and the most relevant. So the idea is not to gather all documentation on COVID and WASH existing in internet, but really to direct you to the most relevant to our work. So the first one, a link you might know already, but I will show you quickly, is the Go platform. So the Go platform, you have a dedicated page on the COVID-19 outbreak, where on this page, emergency details, you will have the situation overview, you will have alerts, and you will have appeals documents, so all the official documents. And then there is the second here, which is additional information, sorry, where you will have some dashboard. So if you want to have a look on the specific countries, and then you will have all guidance that we developed placed in this, I mean, for all the different thematics. So we have the overall guidance, the National Society COVID-19 preparedness, business continuity planning, rapid response business, staff volunteer, health and well-being, mental health, protection, gender and inclusion, risk communication and community engagement, rapid training for community response, clinic care on infection prevention and control, paramedical services, home care, quarantine, blood services, water sanitation, education, migration and displacement, etc. So then if you look for other information outside WASH, you can come here as well. Then we have the link to here we have 2 webinars that have been developed. So the information was shared earlier, and here you can find it's on the IFRC learning platform. So it's a coronavirus. You have the first one is basic knowledge and prevention measures, and the second one is more for responders. So if you are volunteers, then it's good if you can have access to this one. Today there will be a webinar a bit late, so it will be depend the time difference. One afternoon in Geneva from WHO, UNICEF, especially on focus on environmental cleaning. So if you want to join the webinar, you can click the link here and follow the webinar this evening. Then very good resources, good source of resources is the Global WASH cluster page. So the Global WASH cluster page is quite comprehensive, and many guidelines are shared. The IFRC as well. So you can see here we have the WASH service delivery. So the frequent asked question. I will come back to it soon. But also from WHO, SAM, etc. So there are also good resources document. The next one is the hygiene hub. So all the links they are on the PowerPoint and will be shared. So the hygiene hub is an initiative developed by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology, and the WASH-M team. So you can find, you go to resources, and sometimes like we receive also question like, okay, hand washing promotion for COVID-19 response. And then you have a range of questions. Can ash be used for hand washing? Are some types of soap more effective than others? Should we be promoting hand washing with chlorinated water, etc., etc.? So you can come here as well, as this site is a reference for us. And then I've mentioned here the frequent asked question. So Red Cross, Red Crescent, COVID-19 WASH frequency asked question. So they are being developed based on the question you have, or you that came to us. So you click on the document and it will open this one. And this is a living document. So if you look on this document and you don't find answer to your question, please share your question to us, and then we will, if relevant, of course, we will include it here. So for example, for the case of the chlorine spraying, the slide that I prepared today, the information was taken from here. So question 5, question 6. And then there is also a reference to the technical note on spray disinfection that was shared earlier last week. Okay. Then if I come back on the PowerPoint, we have also, I mentioned to you before, the dashboard done with Power BI on the situation of COVID-19 outbreak in Asia Pacific, and this is updated daily. And we have also some link to WHO country and technical guidance and public advice. We are reaching the end of the last slide. We would like to know, to hear from you what kind of support you need, and part of the support requested was to have more sharing information. So I think we addressed this request during this webinar, but also we have received different offers from partner national society to support you at a distance if you have some you have some you want to have WASH support for some expertise. This is something we can liaise with Geneva, as we have received offer from different places already. In addition to that, we are looking to collect on a regular basis the activities that are implemented at country level. The idea is also to continue to share experience among national societies, but also it will help also to get more fundings. And for this one, we will come back to you in the coming weeks. I will open now the floor for question. I know it's already late, so maybe people have left already, but if there is burning question, let's have it now. We have a question from Nick. Please, Nick.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This might sound a bit of a silly question, but I'm just trying to get a better understanding of health literacy. I noticed in all the presentations we talk about the hand washing and the different modes of hand washing. What's the general perception on the understanding of how soap works on the virus and how it breaks it down? I'm just asking this because rationale and understanding processes are really important. So it's not just a task. Sometimes there's a better uptake of any behaviors if people get an understanding of how does soap or how does alcohol rubs work. Over. That's
Thanks, Nick, for the question. I think that's good to practice directly. There is very good explanation in the Hygiene Hub, which I copy here. Why does hand washing with soap work so well to prevent COVID-19? So I think by reading this article, so I will not read in front of you, but will help to have this understanding.
Yeah, that's really good, because what I've found is that once people get a better understanding of how soap works, particularly around grease and what a virus cell is comprised of in terms of its outer layer, I think this really helps people take on some of those behavior changes. So if that's available, and I've just seen your link, that's really good information. That just gives them the supportive information when National Society staff, volunteers are asked, why is it important to use soap and not just water? Particularly, when there might be certain cultures that might use sand or amyl and ash that you mentioned, how effective is soap in comparison? Because that is really the vital ingredient. And if soap is readily available, then often you don't need to use the alcohol hand rubs. That really should be kept for emergency situations or where you don't have access to water and soap. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. And I think it's a very good question and remark. At some stage, there was discussion about why not to use chlorine solution for hand washing, but it was disregarded by WHO and not recommended also for this reason. Not only because it's corrosive for the hands, but also because the soap. Then when hand washing with soap, we recommend two things. There is now, before initially we start only with the 20 seconds, but now we include also much bubbles as possible. Like will support the effect of the soap on the.
Ludovic, like there was one, I think, question when Pakistan Red Crescent was presenting around the waste management in health facilities. Like, if I am not wrong, it was Faisal or someone who was asking around that. Like, what are the protocols and guidelines around the waste management in a healthcare setting? There is a guideline from or a document from WHO around that, but do we have anything else around the waste management in a clinical setting apart from that?
Okay, what's come in mind is there is guideline by ICRC, I think, and there is also guideline that are developed. I mean, there is the classical guideline because in the health setting they normally already segregated the different waste, etc. But I will look for this and we will include either in the frequent asked question. So I know for the solid waste there is things, and now there is I think I saw a development of around water waste management as well. So yes, I will include it.
Yeah, my question was related to the not solid waste. Actually, it's for the liquid waste. We are just like trying to put it some chlorine doser within that drainage to avoid. But I need some guideline if there is any, so it will be good for us.
Okay, sure. I will look for that.
Thank you.
Ludovic, I think we can close as there is no further question, I guess.
So thank you. So you are closing, Abhishek?
So thank you everyone for this participation, for this technical webinar, and next week we will be taking the topic of community-based health and COVID-19 around that. Maybe we have to slightly adjust the time because we have Nancy Claxton from Geneva who have agreed to be part of that webinar. So we will try to find the right time and then we'll circulate the information by Thursday through Jesse to all of you. And once again, thank you very much and have a fruitful week. And wash your hand and stay safe. Thank you.